The Federal Capital Territory was the scene of high drama earlier today when union members made a bold attempt to confront Minister Wike as he left the FCTA Secretariat building. What unfolded was not your typical Monday morning at the nation's capital, and the tension between the workers' unions and the FCTA administration has now spilled into the public eye in a way that nobody expected. The Joint Unions Action Committee and the Nigeria Union of Teachers had gathered at the Secretariat with one mission in mind: to make their voices heard by the man at the top. These are not just random protesters showing up without cause. These are organized labor unions representing thousands of workers who feel their concerns have been pushed aside for far too long. The interesting part of this whole situation is that Minister Wike apparently saw them coming, because instead of using the main entrance like he normally would, he decided to exit through the back gate. Now that tells you everything you need to know about how serious this confrontation could have been. The unions have been expressing frustration over several issues affecting their members, and from what we are seeing on the ground, these grievances have been building up for quite some time. Workers in the Federal Capital Territory have been dealing with concerns ranging from unpaid allowances to poor working conditions, and the teaching staff under the Nigeria Union of Teachers have their own set of complaints that they say have not been addressed despite multiple attempts to engage with the authorities. When you have two major unions coming together under the Joint Unions Action Committee banner, you know the situation has reached a boiling point. Minister Wike has been known for his no-nonsense approach to administration since taking up the FCT minister position. He has pushed forward with several controversial demolition exercises and urban renewal projects that have put him at odds with various groups in Abuja. Some people praise him for trying to restore order to the capital city, while others criticize what they see as heavy-handed tactics that do not take into account the human cost of these decisions. This latest incident with the unions adds another layer to the complex relationship between the minister and the people who live and work in the FCT. The fact that union members felt compelled to physically attempt to block the minister's convoy speaks volumes about the level of frustration that has built up. These are not people who woke up one morning and decided to cause trouble. These are professionals who have likely exhausted other channels of communication and felt that direct action was their only remaining option. The decision to use the back gate exit, whether it was for security reasons or to avoid confrontation, has only added fuel to the fire, because it can be interpreted as the minister avoiding dialogue with the very people who elected officials are supposed to serve. What makes this story even more compelling is the timing. We are still in January, the beginning of a new year, when many workers were hoping for positive changes and resolution to long-standing issues. Instead, we are seeing tensions escalate right out of the gate. The Joint Unions Action Committee, bringing together various workers' unions, shows that this is not an isolated complaint from one group, but a collective outcry from multiple sectors within the FCT workforce. When teachers join hands with other civil servants, you have to understand that education sector concerns are now merging with broader administrative issues affecting all government workers in the capital. The Nigeria Union of Teachers specifically has been vocal about conditions in FCT schools. Teachers have been reporting overcrowded classrooms, inadequate teaching materials, and delays in payment of certain benefits. If this is your first time hearing about this channel and you are enjoying the way we break down these important stories, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update on what is really happening in our country. Education is the foundation of any nation's future, and when the people responsible for shaping young minds are unhappy enough to join protest actions, we all need to pay attention. The attempted blockade of the minister's convoy is significant not just for what happened, but for what it represents. It shows a breakdown in the normal channels of communication between leadership and the workforce. In a functional system, workers should be able to air their grievances through official channels and receive timely responses. When people feel they have no choice but to take to physical demonstrations and attempt to block official vehicles, it means the system has failed somewhere along the line. Minister Nyesom Wike and his team will need to address not just the immediate demands of these unions, but also the underlying communication breakdown that led to this confrontation. Security personnel at the scene managed to keep the situation under control, and from all reports, the minister's convoy was able to leave the premises without any violent incidents. That's good news, because the last thing anyone wants is for legitimate workers' protests to turn into chaotic situations that endanger lives. However, the peaceful nature of how things ended today does not mean the issues have gone away. These unions will regroup, reassess their strategy, and likely return with even more determination if their concerns continue to be ignored. The people of Abuja, and indeed all Nigerians, will be watching closely to see how this situation develops in the coming days. Will the FCT administration open channels for genuine dialogue with the unions? Will the workers' demands be met, or will we see this standoff continue? These are questions that will define the working relationship between the FCT leadership and the civil servants